Today's guest is a powerhouse in heels and a heart-led strategist who makes our region better every single day. Megan Lucas is the CEO of the Lynchburg Regional Business Alliance, a nationally recognized connector and an economic development maverick. But beyond the accolades, Megan leads with authenticity, grit, and a passion for lifting others. Whether she's closing major deals or taking time to inspire a young leader on a surprise office visit, she shows us what it means to lead with both clarity and care. Let's dive in. Welcome, relational leaders and listeners. This is Cultivate, your podcast destination where we celebrate thriving relational leaders and encourage each other along the influence journey. I am Wendy F. Adams, your host and strategic guide. I believe work shouldn't be a four-letter word, but should inspire, challenge, and fulfill. Through a high challenge and high support model, we will explore the recipe for relational leadership that drives meaningful change. After all, as leaders, we're either driving progress or we're driving the problem. So let's grow together. Welcome back to a fresh episode of the Cultivate Experience. Today, I have the pleasure of welcoming a mentor, friend, and fierce community leader, Megan Lucas, CEO and Chief Economic Development Officer of the Lynchburg Regional Business Alliance. So near and dear to my heart. Megan, thank you for joining us for the Cultivate Experience.
Thanks for having me. It's always my pleasure to sit alongside you, and anytime I get to spend with you is always impactful and joyous.
Well, I can't say enough how exciting and trying to stay in the seat. Megan and I, our green room time started about 7.5 years ago. So we've done a lot, but the audience, they don't know as much. So Megan, diving right in, Every leader has a why. You and I talk about this. Let's start with what makes you, you. What's that moment, personal, professional, that you point your finger at and say, that shaped my approach to leadership today?
That's a really tough question. You know, I can think of moments, I believe that every interaction I've had throughout my life is leads to this person. And so, a humble family. My mother managed a bowling alley. And when I was too little to work at the farm, I would go to work with her. And when she was at work, I learned how to answer the phone. Hi, thanks for calling Mexico Lanes. How may I help you? Right? So I think that I'm the person I am because I have watched people model the way. And I've taken and learned from everybody in every opportunity I've had engagement with. And those opportunities those learning are good and bad, right? I learned how to answer the phone. I learned how not to answer the phone. I learned how to be polite. I learned how to to introduce people. And I learned how to be inclusive of people in a conversation. But I also learned what not to do. Don't talk with your mouth full. Don't point. Don't take your glasses off and point at people. Don't cuss. One of my favorite is, always be mindful of who you're talking to because everybody's related.
Yes.
And especially in small communities. So I don't, there are moments throughout my life and my career where I could say that was impactful. But I believe, Wendy, that the person I am today is fortunate by being exposed to phenomenal people, normal, regular, everyday people, and watching them and then just modeling after them.
And Megan, gosh, that could be the show. We could be done right there, because not only do I totally agree, but I get to watch you walk that out, right? So that little girl who was answering the phone and what you recognize there, that's still playing out today in your CEO role.
Yeah.
You are so self-aware and grounded in that authentic space. I mean, there's not anyone who hasn't interacted and engaged who won't say, bold connector, you're a mentor in our region. When did you realize that your voice mattered in the room where decisions were being made?
I would still say, does it really matter? I would really say, I'm driving in my car and I'm thinking about things that need to get done. And I'm wondering, is it my voice that's making the difference? Or do I need to reach out to somebody else who I believe has a more impactful or influential voice? I try, I certainly try. I think that kindness begets kindness. Uh,
Mm.
Integrity begets integrity. And those sorts of things allow my voice to have some impact and to carry some weight. And I think that trying to not lead by ego. I mean, certainly, I talked about, I've seen people who operate and lead from a humble and a friendly place. And I've seen people lead or try to lead from ego. And so I know that that doesn't get you very far. So I think that it's nice that you think and people think that my voice has um, this influence. I think that I'm not real sure. I'm not real sure that it does, and that's probably just my own insecurities, I suppose. Talking, but I do think that I like people. I like bringing people together. I like helping people make the connection or a connection that can lead to
Mhm.
something greater in the future. Not an immediate connection, but sometimes yes, an immediate connection. But I think Wendy, I was raised on a cattle ranch in Missouri with three older brothers in a bowling alley. I never met a stranger. And I think that leads to what you see today.
I can say this with experience. When my phone rings and it says Megan Lucas, because it does happen, and you're having those thoughts in the car and you're like, what do you think about this?
Yeah.
You're right. But that is where your voice does matter, not because it's the only one in the room, but that you do call others up into that space. And I love that. I love that humility space that you're walking in. And to be on the other side of that, it makes me say, wow, I've got something to bring to the table each and every time because you're drawing us in. That authenticity in your leadership has to have it weight when we start talking about the high stakes economic conversations. Some of the meetings that you're in, just getting pieces of it, I'm like, woo. And then community expectations around that. How
Yeah.
are you balancing that authenticity in your leadership with all of those expectations
Well,
that come alongside?
it's really who I am. And so when I'm in a meeting, whether, and Wendy, I have found myself self in some great, amazing places with meetings that this little farm girl would have never, ever thought she would be in, from Secretary of the Air Force, Secretary of the Armed Services, ambassadors and generals. And I think that if you know what you're talking about and
Mm.
you're not being, the phrase, you can't BS a BSer, right?
Yes.
But having the knowledge and the confidence of what you're saying and communicating is true, gives that authenticity and gets people sort of to lean in. So having the experience, understanding the background of whatever the topic is, whether it's, it used to be for years, it was all Air Force, military defense, DOD. And so understanding that environment allowed me to have good, strong conversations relative to growing those communities. And in economic development and business development,
Mm.
having my voice there is understanding the subject, having real life connections. I don't have to have the direct experience, but I do have businesses who are going through the hurdles or the challenges, and how to help them clear that hurdle. I think it's knowledge. It's being able to say, I don't know 100%, but I know somebody who does. I get to go and instruct chamber professionals and economic development professionals. And one of the things I tell them about our profession is we're a little bit like Lewis and Clark. Now, Lewis and Clark, when they went through Nebraska, they discovered the Platte River. And they said the Platte River is a mile wide and an inch deep, which is really true. It's a very wide river and very shallow. But when I'm teaching and training economic developers and chamber folks, I tell them that our profession, we're like the Platte River. We're a mile wide, but we're really about 18 inches deep. So we can get into it. We can have an intelligent conversation about what's affecting business, what's affecting the community, how to, look and solve problems perhaps. But when we get to that 18-inch point, we know who to call. Like, I've given you all the information I can give you at this point. I'm going to connect you with these people who are subject matter experts. And I think there's real value in that. But for what I do, we have a mission, we have a vision, we have a goal, we have plans, we have strategies. And my job is to bring as many people to the table to buy into those strategies for the success of the community. whatever community I'm in.
And I was going to say, that's not just, we love what's happening in our Lynchburg community, but that's not just in our Lynchburg community. I've been other places with you and see the same thing and hear from others who are working with you. That is, and I love what you said right up front. It's who you are,
Yeah.
right? And walking that out, even when you look and you go, is this really me?
Yeah.
Are these the spaces that I'm in? You're pouring in, you've mentioned it, right? At some big tables, pouring into other leaders, being poured into. And then there's last week in this impromptu moment. My nephew's visiting. We come in for a quick tour, and you stop and take the time to have a conversation. Great meaning there, right? To him. What goes through your mind when you are looking at next gen leaders and your responsibility there to them?
Well, I think it's a lot about modeling the way.
Mm,
I mimic people I saw and engaged with throughout my life, good and bad, learned what was good and what was bad, what worked, what didn't work. And I think that it's always important to give back. I get energy from that, right? Your nephew came in, he's got a dream, he's got an idea, and I have a connection, some connections I think might be helpful. I think it's just for me, I think I can't help myself. I just think I can't help myself. If I can help somebody, whether it's an individual or a business, a nonprofit, I think that's what I'm here to do is help people make those connections, find their dreams. The greatest force for change in everybody's life is a job. And your
mm,
nephew came in and he wants to own a business and that's a job. And so I think whenever possible, I will stop, drop, and roll when those moments happen, or I will stop and schedule and then get back if I'm too busy. But I'm always I like to be really available to people who ask or people who are interested. Now, certainly, I probably stick my nose into people's business who don't want it, but from time to time, I can't help myself and will just overhear a conversation at a restaurant and be like, did I just hear you say pardon me, but you need to call A, B, C, and D, and they'll take care of you. So,
I love it. I love it. You can't help yourself. And you and I share that space of stepping in where maybe it's a little too much. But you know what? What comes out of it, again, it's who you are. You
mhm,
said something about being knowledgeable, right? You don't have to know all the things, but surrounding yourself with those who do, but being knowledgeable about a subject. I would say economic development wasn't at the top of my list as far as my knowledge base,
yeah,
but I'm spending time. You boil things down in this work that you're doing that I'm keeping my ears open. I know others are as well. We can talk about economic development, about jobs, the
mhm,
dollars and cents. But at the end of the day, and I've heard you say it, it's about people, right?
mhm,
It's about the relationships, about
right,
people. Keeping the heart and the humanity in the midst of strategy and growth.
yeah.
What's the secret sauce there? What are you doing to make sure that you don't lose one for the other?
It's about creating a job. It's about how a job is the greatest force for change in my life and your life. And then
Mm-hmm.
as those jobs add up in a family, in a neighborhood, in a city,
Mm,
in a county, in a region, in a state. We're talking about economic development and we're recruiting manufacturing or retaining manufacturing. It is about jobs and capital investment, but at its core, it is always about the people in the community, right? We want our region to have great fire protection, great police, great streets, great services. And in order for us to have great services, we've got to have a great tax base. And in order to have a great tax base, you've got to have industry that's paying taxes. And in order to have the industry, they've got to have a workforce. And so it's all really interconnected. And I think that's sometimes what I enjoy the most is helping people see that connection. It's not just a company is not uh,
mm.
a faceless building. It's people who have families who are sisters, our brothers, our neighbors, our cousins, right? And they're the people who give back to your community. So I think that I think that the people side of it is always engaged because we do know that happy citizens make happy employees. Happy employees make for growing companies and growing communities. It's just helping folks understand that there's a connect to everything is connected.
Well, and I love how you told that story with those building blocks because I think we can get so disconnected in that space
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
see it as just that. Oh gosh, how do we build this workforce? Well,
Mhm.
that like you said, that workforce are individuals
Yeah.
that we see each other in the grocery store, right? And getting to know the individual, where they're coming from, which takes me to this place, and we won't get into specifics, But there's some tough meetings, right?
Sure.
We don't always see eye to eye. Business, education, civic partners may not always be in alignment.
Mhm.
What do you see as your responsibility as a regional leader to keep that to keep us moving at least in that same direction, building those blocks?
Well, I think that, from the Lynchburg Regional Business Alliance organization that you're affiliated with and that I get to lead, we often think in terms of being catalytic leaders, being conveners, and being champions for commerce and champions for our
Yes.
community. Not everybody is nobody ever agrees, and so I think when I'm in those scenarios, it's finding what we can agree on,
Mm,
and then understanding what the hurdles are in the room or around the table to get to a greater agreement. Sometimes those hurdles are just our misunderstandings. Sometimes those hurdles are philosophical and political philosophy related. And it's really sort of the little engine that could, right? I think I can, I think I can, I think I can. The first hurdle is getting everybody to the table. It's convening the right people. And we know when we convene people, we don't only convene the people who we think like we do. We have to
yes.
convene people in that same space that have a differing opinion or a different thought or a different philosophy, because it's only then that that sort of collective impact can happen. If we see things, if I talk to people who only agree with everything I agree, then there's going to be no growth. There's not going to be
That's it.
change or opportunity. So in those meetings that can be difficult, it's really seeking to understand and then trying to, I think about it as the zipper merge on the highway, which not everybody does well, but it's really taking the leaders and the stakeholders around the table and zipper merging together where we can.
I love that you said it's got to be the right people in the room,
Yeah.
right?
And
We
sometimes
can't just, yeah.
and I tell people all the time, and it's hard for me even too, because if for example, in economic development, every community has NIMBYs, not in my backyard, right? Not in my
Yes.
backyard. Whatever the manufacturer is, whatever the business is, not in my backyard. But you have to bring those NIMBY when you're convening people. You have to bring the NIMBYs, even if you never win the NIMBYs over, right? That you at least brought them to the table and heard them. And eventually what happens is the NIMBYs either, start to learn and enjoy and there's value, or they throw their hands up and they never return to the meeting. But the value is inviting those individuals, people to the table and getting their input. And they will either self deselect or self
Yes.
grow.
You hit it
Yeah.
because that self selection to say I don't want to be a part of, but they
Yeah.
knew they had a place where their voice could be heard,
Yeah.
right? And I talk about this often in my coaching. We can't get away from the elephant,
Yeah.
right? We can try to, it just grows. It doesn't just go away. And that elephant isn't just our NIMBYs. That's
Yeah.
the fact of the conversation that has to happen around why don't I want this
Right.
in my backyard, right? And so I
Exactly.
really appreciate that's some courageous conversations.
Yeah.
And we say this often. You got to say some hard no's
Yeah.
to really good things at times to get to the right yeses to get us to that growth.
Yeah.
How do you speak that into your team that you're leading at the alliance? Because you're in the midst of a lot of conversations
Yeah.
with business leaders, different sizes. What does that look like?
Really it starts with our core values. And
Mm,
I'm going to, give a shout out to the amazing Christine Kennedy, my partner in commerce here. It's really, she helped us shape our core values. And I think from the team's perspective, it's keeping the core values front and center. I try and refer to them as much as I can. And so does Christine. But as a team, it's really remembering what our core values are. My opinion on it, if a business comes in here and they need help, they need help. And whether or not I like their business or use their product doesn't matter. I want that business to grow and be successful. And if we have the tools to help that business who employs 1, 2, 10, 50 people grow and be successful, we're going to use our tools to help them do that.
I love that you said you went straight to the core values as
It
that
starts there.
foundational
It really
space
starts there.
because the Lynchburg Regional Business Alliance is not a nonprofit. I work with a lot of nonprofits came out of it, and sometimes we lean on and talk about like core values only matter in that space. No, that is the engine and the oil that keeps us going. That's what drives everything. Is this who we are? And
That's
so
right.
I really appreciate that. one of the things that I want to highlight, and you don't say it often, but I know this. I think I have the number right. 18 people in the world that have the dual certification that you have.
Plus or minus. That I think it might have grown just a little bit, but it's a small number. Yes,
That is a tiny number.
it is.
Credentials aside, what's the real cost of sustaining influence and driving change at that level? Like, what are you giving up? What does it really cost you to continue to be that influential with that few number of people that you're walking alongside doing this type of work?
Well, I've got a great husband, as you see over the corner there. I think I probably give up if I don't know, Wendy. I think health. I'm not
Mm,
as I think of you in the morning when I wake up early and think I should go to the gym and see Wendy, because you're there and I need to be there. I probably give up. I would say the cost for me has been health. It's always trying to make sure that faith and family are prioritized. And I think, people talk about work life balance, and I really try and think in terms of work life harmony. It's trying
ooh,
to
love it.
find the harmony in days and weeks, right? Some weeks I have plenty of time to, be with Tori and be on the golf course with him. And other weeks there's, it's not there. So I think for me, it's really about finding the harmony. But what's, the cost? Certainly there's a financial cost. There's a lot of investment in my education and the credentialing, the certifications that I've gotten. But I think that the personal satisfaction, the opportunities, the interesting scenarios I've been a part of are so worth it, or way outweigh it
Mhm.
by millions, absolutely millions.
Well,
Uh,
and I love that you called all of that up, right?
yeah.
You're not painting this picture of, oh, it's just easy. And you're talking about those spaces where you see your opportunities for growth and to be
Mhm.
mindful,
Yeah.
right? And I
And by the
love
way,
that. Yeah.
I have a sugar addiction. That's what's problem, right? I've got a sugar addiction. Now I've been working on that. So I'm trying to manage in the sugar addiction. But and I'm not one of the people, you hear people who stress eat.
Yes.
I want to be a stress exerciser. Imagine, where's that person?
Where I was gonna say, where's that? Because you're calling me up for working out in the
Yeah.
morning, and let me tell you, that alarm goes off, and I'm still again.
Yeah. And
So
then,
right,
but you feel so good when you do it.
yes, I
And
do, I
I
do.
have the same philosophy about salads. I'll go out to lunch and I'll say to myself, "Oh, I promise myself when you go out to lunch, Megan, you eat salads. This is your habit." And I'll get there and I'll be like, "I really don't want this salad. I really don't want salad." Then I eat the salad. It's the greatest salad I ever had. And I'm like,
That's
"Why
right.
do I hate getting the salad when I love salad?" So it's the same with working out, right? I hate
Yeah.
going, but once you do it, it's fantastic.
And you feel like you can take on the world. That's
Absolutely.
really what it does. That's really what it does for me. It takes a great amount of discernment, and we've taught you. You brought some of that up already.
Mhm.
When do we move? When do we pause? When do
Mhm.
we pivot? What in all of this experience? What have you learned about how to walk that out? How to discern when to move, when to pause, when to pivot? Like, what does that look like at this leadership level?
I was in grad school at the University of Memphis, and I had a professor, and I can't remember her name, but I really liked her. For some reason, in some conversation we were having, she looked at me and she was like, pointed. She said, "You've got to decide which ditch you want to die in.
Mm, wow.
Choose wisely the ditch you want to die in." And so I really think about that, not as much as I used to, because I used to just always be up for a fight. Let's go. I'm taking this battle. But reminding myself of, there are battles, there are arguments, there are issues, and there are meetings, right? And I will, I will definitely say to myself, is this the mountain, the ditch I'm going to die in? And so I think that philosophy and having good situation awareness helps me with discernment, when to walk away, when to pivot, when to sit back and relax, when to wait it out. I think that helps. And the other thing I want to tell you, Wendy, is I have a friend. She was with a construction company, and she's moved on to another job. But she taught me this great tool, and I may have shared it with you once or twice. But when she's in meetings or when she's at conferences or just in general, but typically meetings, and everybody's talking and everybody's got an opinion on something. she will take her pen and at the top of the agenda or on a note piece of paper, and she will write WAIT and underline it. And that stands for, why am I talking? And sometimes I think that's really helpful in discernment. I may want to jump in with a comment or a perspective, but really I need to wait because I don't always need to talk. And oftentimes the people around the table in the room at the conference will eventually come out with whatever it was I was thinking. So I think that's been a real helpful trick that I use from time to time. It's wait. When I really feel my jaw clenching and I'm thinking I gotta go. I'll wait, and that will recenter me to listen and let things play out, and then sort of circle around.
I am so glad that you brought it up, and you have shared that with me. But I wanted the audience to hear it, and I had a feeling you would go there.
Yeah.
Because I've had I've had to use that,
Yeah.
and when you describe the clenched, I got something to. It has.
Or that person's so wrong. They're going down the wrong path.
Yes.
They didn't understand the question, or what are they talking about? Or do they really mean what they said? All this stuff's going through my head. And so, or that's great. I agree. It's a situational awareness, Wendy. And I find that a lot of young leaders and a lot of people don't have a good grasp on situational awareness. And I remember when I was an undergrad and my mentor in undergrad, she was talking. I remember she was trying to teach me about situational awareness, and I wasn't grasping that. And I finally grasped it, I don't know, years ago. But situational awareness I think is a superpower.
It is. RTR, read the room. Read the room.
Yeah, reading the room and seeing, understanding, what somebody is saying today, what that impact could be in near term, short term, and long term. Being cognizant of conversations going around you, newspaper articles. I mean, really, situational awareness. I teach that to the staff. I do talk to the staff a lot about that. Is being mindful. And recently I had, there's a futurist, her name is Rebecca Ryan, who I love. And Rebecca, I recently sat in a session with her talking, it was called Signals and something. But the message was, all of us, but you and I, we see things every day. And sometimes those things are signals. And I think it's like signals and trends, but she had more catchier phrase for it. And they get to, she's got this core group, they get together and they say, what signals do you have this week? And someone will say, I read an article or I saw news about this, and I'm going to keep tracking this, and we'll see if it turns into a trend, if it's something we need to be aware of. And what that did to me was, first of all, there are things in my mind that I am pondering on that I think strategically this region needs to be thinking about. And she just clarified for me that that's a signal. That's a signal for a trend that is either near term, short term, or long term. It's sort of like, and the way she explained it was, when you walk outside and a single raindrop is a signal. And that raindrop is a signal to a downpour, a thunderstorm, a tornado, a hurricane, right? And so, but that one raindrop. And so that situational awareness and the signaling, I think it's all wrapped in. And when we think about the future of our region, of our communities, we've got to be paying attention to signals, not saying, that's somebody else's problem.
No, I love that. And that's something that, of course, we're talking about it today. That's not just economic development, right? That's for all of us who are walking out, because we're all influencers, so we're all leading. How important that is to read those signals, and then how do we share? How do we walk that out? You give us so much insight here in our Lynchburg community, but you get to travel and you're teaching and you're training all over the country. But when it comes to home and the work you're doing, what do you want Lynchburg as a region and our community to be known for in the next 3 to 5 years?
Well, I want our region to continue to be known for, its innovation. It's, I tell people we're everything from mountains to manufacturing, everything in between. Our region has an amazing heart of gold. We have an innovative spirit. Success is really simple here.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I want the world to know that we're just really a great place. Um, and when I look at the future for the region, I do want growth. We have this region has a very diversified economy, got lots of great businesses, but that's got to continue to grow. And so, singles and doubles with companies growing here or relocating here, because as I told you, that's all part of the cycle.
Yes.
We want better parks. Well, you have to have tax dollars. You want more police. You got to have tax dollars. You want better fire and rescue. You want better roads. You want more garbage pickup. It all comes down to that tax base, enhancing the tax base. But I think I want the world to know that this region inspires. It's innovative. We scatter joy. We've got we're at the foothills of the Blue Ridge Mountains. We're on the banks of the James River, and everything from running to hiking to golfing, it's all right here. So I think I want to see positive growth. I'd like to see continued or more congeniality
Yeah.
within some of our community groups, I suppose. I don't like the decisiveness.
Yeah.
You and
Yeah.
I can disagree and still love each other.
Yes.
You and I don't have
Yes.
to have the same politics. I think that divisiveness, what I think I've seen is whatever party people are a part of. That's great. I'm glad. I want everybody to be active, but trying to implement a national political playbook at the local level destroys communities, and that is heartbreaking. So I'd like to see all communities be mindful of that. That's bigger than me. That's bigger than you. Certainly, we do our part, but we are a community, and we're here together. We're living together. We're friends and neighbors. We're not nameless people that are just wandering around in the world that are driving around using turn signals.
Absolutely. And so well said. And
Yeah,
it isn't just you and it isn't just me, but boy, I'd love for Lynchburg to be known as who's
yeah,
leading the charge in it. Like
yeah.
if it can happen here,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah, for
I
us, nuclear, for us, if we're known for Liberty University and we're known for nuclear and energy. And that's going to continue to the grow and the community that supports all that.
yeah, yeah. Wow, Megan, we could just continue on and on. I love it. And our time is coming to a close. But I do want to ask,
Mhm.
what's one piece of advice that you're currently holding close? Something recent, maybe, but it's hidden differently for you in this season of life that you're in your career, but you're holding it. You're holding it pretty tight. Is there something?
A piece of advice. Well, choose wisely the ditch to die in is a good one.
I'm taking that one.
Yeah, because you just gotta be mindful of our mouth. I think counting your blessings, being grateful, and I
Yeah.
think being kindness is the advice I have. If you want to be successful, if you're a young entrepreneur or a young professional, and you want to move forward, upward mobility, kindness and volunteerism. Being kind to your coworkers, volunteering for those jobs that nobody wants to do, that gets a leg up versus being a curmudgeon. So positive attitude makes all the difference. There was a phrase we used to use. Let's see, your attitude doesn't define my altitude, or it's been a while since I thought of that one. But my attitude it determines how high I'm going to fly.
Yeah,
And so I would
absolutely.
say positive attitude and choosing wisely that ditch you want to die in, and being mindful of your mouth are good ones. But kindness always wins. Kindness always wins. And I know that probably sounds Pollyanna, and that doesn't mean I don't get mad or I don't occasionally throw out a cuss word or I don't get angry, because I do. I mean, I get angry, I get frustrated, and my feelings get hurt.
Yeah.
I get sad, I get depressed, I get all those emotions. But for me, it's working hard for the community, working hard for the businesses, and keeping that in mind. But my advice for people is to be kind, treat
Yeah.
people how you want to be treated. And
Kindness leads. Lead with that. Lead with that. And when you go back to the fact of our divisiveness, let's find out what we have more in common, because it's there,
and
as
we
opposed to just
kind,
looking for the things that aren't.
kind, Wendy, and we can be bold. We're not
Yes.
right. We're not. You don't trade one for the other. So
No.
my advice is be kind, but be bold. Be kind, but fight above your weight class.
Oh, good one. Good one. All right. Well, cute. Just a quick few things.
Mhm.
Little insider behind Megan Lucas. When you're not building the region, what's your guilty pleasure TV show?
Oh my gosh. I love Grey's Anatomy. I watch that. I'm rewatching every Grey's Anatomy.
Yeah.
I love the show Rizzoli and Isles, so I'll rewatch that. Yeah, Grey's Anatomy and like the movies like Hunger Games and Divergent. Those are some of my guilty pleasures. I do. I love to watch. I do like to watch. Yeah,
I love it. I
Grey's
love it.
Anatomy, Bones, those sorts of things. And I
You,
love to
you,
read, and I love to
you,
golf, and
you
I love to
do.
crochet, and I love Tori, and I like to eat his smoked food.
Oh gosh, yes.
Yeah.
What's the most Megan Lucas thing you've ever done at a ribbon cutting that you can talk about?
Uh, will just be me, honestly. Christine and the team, they roll their eyes when I start to tell knock jokes. So sometimes
That's
it's
it.
knock jokes. And so sometimes it's that. Certainly, you're just supporting the business and industry that we're cutting the ribbon for. And
Yeah.
if there's an opportunity for me to get in a bucket truck, then I'm getting in the bucket truck. If there's an opportunity to fill my face with a piece of pie at a new bakery, I'm going to do that. Now, certainly when we're cutting ribbons at nuclear places, there's no fooling around there. So I keep it straight and narrow. But fun is important, and I like to have fun.
And you bring it. And
Yeah,
there's not
bring joy,
jokes.
scatter joy. That's what you do. That's what we do.
Favorite ice cream flavor? I know you love the sweets.
Yeah.
What's the top?
Yeah, it depends on the day, but it's going to be butter pecan, chocolate as chocolate can be, and strawberry.
All right. All right. Megan, I knew this would be a blast and you did not disappoint. You have left us wanting more. And I can't thank you enough for walking out the leadership that you do with poise, grace, boldness. Your insights, the way you invest in others, it's awe-inspiring. And it's just been an absolute pleasure to have you today.
Well, thanks, Wendy. And thank you for being amazing. And I mean it. You scatter joy. You are impactful, enlightening, and fun, and have a lot of great style. And I love your shoes. But being a part of your world, being in your sphere, it's rewarding.
Wow. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Cultivate collaborators. It's a wrap today, but it's never over because each of us, we bring our own special flavor to the mix of relational leadership. So until next time, let's keep stirring things up. Let's keep making an impact and being better together. Thank you so much. Before we sign off today, I want to send out huge appreciation to our listeners for tuning in. I hope you felt seen, heard, and inspired to level up your own leadership journey. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss future episodes. And if you're ready to level up your leadership, connect with me at cultivateforgood.com. That's cultivate, FOR, good.com.